Food is the Eating fake food is the agenda. They want to keep us trapped, living in our lower nature. And this is why they go through so much trouble to poison us physically, mentally, and spiritually. Eating animals began with the fall of man. It stems all the way back to the Canaanites, who practiced occult ritual, cannibalism, and human sacrifice. This society that we live in is run by a death cult. There is a much better way to live that involves eating life and not death. It's what the Essene Gospel of Peace and the allegorical messages in the Bible are teaching, not to mention practicing natural hygiene, because there are natural laws that apply to the human body. Our bodies are meant to be in an alkaline state where parasites and disease cannot thrive. Heaven is within you. Fruit is the highest form of food. It's effortless. It's a gift from the trees. Glucose is the primary source of fuel for every cell of the human body. Fruit is the perfect fuel for our biosystem. It's hydrating, alkalizing, cleansing, and detoxifying. It frees up any type of illness that was in the body. I'm ready to get off the wheel. I'm ready to ascend. Who's coming with me? Eating.
Should I read this to you guys? A solid shortcut to thinking. If it's funded by the Rockefeller Trust, you can't trust it. In no particular order. Big Pharma, feminism, Black Lives Matter, Anonymous, the Occupy movement, Monsanto, the alphabet kids I'm referring to, LGB, whatever, and the kids who promote pedophilia, quite literally. The same applies to TED Talks, which also coincidentally promotes pedophilia. Look into it. It's true. Indoctrination camps people call public school. The Disclosure Project, which is now known as the Gaia Project, because of the way our masters work, they splinter off and they rename these things, so it's harder to track these things down and put your finger on the pulse. And then I said, which promotes test tube alien nonsense. All of these are funded by the Rockefeller Trust. There are plenty more, but this is just a handful. And most superficial people out there have never looked into any of these. Most superficial people out there are supporting these agendas to varying degrees. Now keep in mind, there's a lot of good people out there, but the problem is good people tend to be gullible. Our masters got us through convenience. That's the shortcut to thinking as well. Convenience and entertainment. If you look around, that's modern conveniences. And what do you see everywhere? Fucking entertainment. Bread and circuses. So we've been lulled into a daydream within a daydream within a daydream within a daydream, and most people simply do not care. Here's an example. When you're, and I've said this too many times, now when you jump into Google or say you're on YouTube or Instagram, these all function the same way now. And it's by design, not by coincidence. When you scroll down, if you look away and something interrupts you, there's any distraction whatsoever, it's going to drag you back to the top of the stack because these are your feed. It's in the wording for one, but it's also apparent if you're paying attention. In your feed, you're spoon-fed superficial shit, which is conveniently, remember I said convenience, at the top of the stack. This is where you're typically speaking going to see the most superficial shit under the sun. It's quite literally surface level, and it's in place to mislead you and manipulate you and subjugate you and I by degrees down the line. It's where you're going to find things that are being normalized in terms of social engineering propaganda. This is how it works. If you are looking for results in Google, it's harder than fucking ever before, and you have to plug in. It's almost like trying to unlock a combination lock, trying to find the right words to find things now. Because when you plug something in, you're going to find a pharmaceutical drug, a tennis shoe, a video game. In other words, entertainment and pointless shit is being named after things that do reflect reality, and you should know, but you probably can't find because Google is a tool of propaganda. So the things that do reflect reality are so far down in the stack, most people are not going to go looking for them, especially with a deterrent like that. When you scroll down, it's going to drag you back to the top of the stack because most people don't have an attention span anymore to drive that point home. Social engineering, like I said, is alive and well. It's related to the Tavistock Institute. You should look that up, which is directly connected to eugenics, which has to do with pure bloodlines and superior bullshit. It's on par with the Nazi Ubermensch, the Superman. And there are people that believe this who are pulling our strings. If you've ever heard of Darwin, a good majority of Darwin's fucking family promoted eugenics, and it is alive and well. The Tavistock Institute is healthy and well, just like DARPA's alive and well. HARP is alive and well. These are things that shouldn't exist, but they do because people aren't doing the right thing to stop this shit and see that it does not exist. The examples I usually rattle off, do you see anybody camping out outside grocery stores, pissed off, mad as hell, and making sure that shipments of genetically modified poison do not enter those buildings and are not sold to the public? Because it's not food, it's poison. No, you don't, because people don't fucking care. People don't think about these things. Something I rattled off a long time ago, just to drive things home with social engineering jargon, words. Words manipulate us. They have power. Good people who are gullible bought into calling life-sustaining, full of light food organic, which means it was renamed, which opened up the door for genetically modified poison. And that's what we experience today. In other words, if you and I were surrounded by well-meaning people who were truly smart, that would have never taken place. If you and I are surrounded by people who truly fucking give a damn, and are so brilliant and woke and full of, the age of information. I mean, they're full of shit, really. It's a lot of talk the talk, but they won't walk the walk. They would have stopped that dead in its tracks. But that hasn't happened. The other example that I rattle off is chemtrails are obvious if you fucking look up in the sky. You're going to see this shit. If you look into it, you could also figure out things, but most people don't do these things either way. You don't see good people going to these airfields and preventing aircraft from taking off. You don't. Which means even your home garden is being contaminated here in Portland, Oregon, daily. And that should really piss people off. But you got a bunch of fair weather, hippie wannabe vegans, this, that, and the other thing. And they don't care. Because they aren't thinking about these things. They're living in a land of make-believe. And or they don't think that they could change anything. You get that too. Complacency. I usually say complacency got us this far. What's another example? Well, I did mention TED Talks and things like that. Anybody with a brain in their head would not support any organization that promotes pedophilia in any form or way. But how many pseudo-intellectuals out there promote TED Talks? How many people out there praise that shit? They repost that shit. They follow that shit on social media, which is social engineering platforms. Another thing that should come up. So if you don't know what DARPA is, look up what DARPA is. The internet you and I use is the DARPA internet. And you should be familiar with this, but most people aren't. I'm getting sidetracked. Maybe I'll digress. Most of you probably won't sit through this rant anyway, and that's if the Instagram, which is LifeVlog 2.0, if it lets me upload this. As long as I keep it under 10 minutes, sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Sometimes it will make me upload this 5, 6, 7 times. It's ridiculous, the tactics that our masters use. Just appreciate you and I are using the DARPA internet. We are connected to the Wi-Fi, which is where the fractal AI crawls through. The AI is one sentience. Technically, it's broken up. It's schizophrenic, if you will. And something called the TTP, it's the Trans-Pacific Partnership, otherwise known as One Belt, One Road, also known as the Commerce Superhighway or the Silk Highway, having to do with ancient Asia. It's a throwback to that. Picture a bunch of toll booths on a road. The Obama administration fast-tracked this, the TTP that is, which means it opened up each one of these respective toll booths. And this is what used to hold back each one of these personalities of the one sentience, which is AI. And this is what's crawling through all things connected to Wi-Fi now. Doesn't come up. People don't understand these things. The AI, the thing, it basically Legion, if you want to think in terms of a biblical allegory. It wrote Bitcoin and among other programs that no human has been able to write and no human claims to have written, in terms of the very few people who are out there that could have done these things. All of this shit should come up. I'm a walking disclaimer statement, and I'm trying to burn up to 10 minutes and just throw shit out there that you guys could look up. Most people probably won't. Most of you won't fucking do the right thing. That's what time has taught us. And like I said, complacency got us this far. What the fuck do I know?